Hello, my beautiful patrons. Thanks for coming along for another podcast episode. Today we have a guy named Vlad. I met him on an ayahuasca retreat when I was in Colombia last week. He seemed like a really interesting guy. And then on the retreats that we go to, we drink ayahuasca on Friday, and then the next Monday we have like a little wrap up, kind of talk about how you're going to integrate the experience, and it's kind of like a group therapy session, whatever. So I met him on Friday. Monday we saw each other again at this integration circle, and we got dinner afterwards, and then he actually let me stay over at his house overnight because I didn't have a place to stay. So Vlad is a top guy. Basically just let me stay for like 24 hours at his crib. And then we recorded this podcast. The topic of the podcast was going to be like how to make money abroad, how to make money remotely, because he's a writer. He writes like other people's PhD theses. I don't know if it's ES or thesi. I don't know. It shows how educated I am. I'm sure Vlad would know. But yeah, he's a writer. He's a Russian guy, but he writes all his stuff in German for these PhD students. And then he also writes novels, and he just kind of all over the place, but really creative dude. Anyways, that's what the topic of the podcast was going to be. And we kind of meandered. We definitely meandered on this one. But Vlad just had a lot to say. He's got a lot of interesting thoughts about a lot of topics, and I didn't really want to limit it to one thing. I just kind of wanted to let him riff. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And I think this is going to be like the direction of the podcast. I think this is where we're going to go. I'm just going to meet cool people on the road, sit them down, have a chat with them, usually vaguely about a topic, but whatever happens. Is that it? Let's see. I got a list here. I'm very prepared. Let's see. Oh yeah, Russian dude. He's been living abroad for 15 years. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys a few like background facts, so the episode makes a little more sense, because we didn't really take the time to describe shit as it was happening. So yeah, Russian guy, makes a living being a writer, but he writes in German. Obviously speaks English. He's been living in Colombia for like the last 3 years. He's been living abroad for the last 15 years. He hasn't been back to Russia in forever. And he was telling me about like all the issues recently going on with Putin and like authoritarianism, and basically Putin just declared himself a dictator. He'll go into more detail in the episode, obviously. But basically Vlad wants to move back to Russia to kind of combat what's been going on recently. He wants to be a journalist and kind of put his neck out there for the good of the Russian people. So yeah, like I said, really interesting guy. I enjoyed talking with him, and it's not COVID. And I hope you enjoyed too. Yeah, if you have any suggestions for like different topics or people I should talk to or ideas for the podcast, I would love to hear your opinion. So drop a comment. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Enjoy. Well, thanks for sitting down to talk with me, Vlad. Appreciate it, dude.
Are you already like filming?
Yeah.
Ah, the fuck. Yeah. I appreciate it for the invitation. Hyped to be here to share a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
I like that to be part of a story that you told about yourself, and I think it's nice to inspire and share.
Yeah. So, how did you get to Medellin? You said so. You're from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up here? You said you lived in like a lot of different countries, and
yeah, it's a way of 15 years actually, of getting around the world, getting to know myself, getting to know places, getting to know what I really love, and trying a lot, like just not thinking too much, just like getting myself into it. I would say I have no fear in a lot of things, and I was like, let me do that, and I know that I have the confidence that doing it will get me a step closer to what I really love and where I should be. And so I started in Germany, spent a while in Scotland, went to Canada, went to United States, and everything was always like making the way that I should come to Colombia and then live this while here, because finally I wanted to stay in the United States. It didn't work out. The visa, Trump, was all difficult in that time.
When were you in the U.S.?
It was 2018.
Okay.
2017, 2018, yes. And in that time, visa regulations were so hard, university costs were so high, and I was still down to do it. I was still down to like invest like $100,000 to stay there and be able to study something, you know.
So you really wanted to stay?
I love the United States. I
yeah?
loved the United States in that time. It was like my place of freedom. I believed in the American dream. I believed in capitalism. I believed in working for the good and being in the grind of the daily work, you know.
Yeah.
And making the money to live in a penthouse and whatever.
Were you living in a penthouse?
No, I lived in a place in Plantation, in a regular like 3-bedroom normal with 2 girls, 1 Cuban girl, 1 Mexican girl, and I was going out with a Colombian girl at that time because they're in Miami. There are a lot of Latin people.
Of course,
there's just like Latin culture all over the place.
Yeah.
And so my visa in the United States ran out, and I had to wait 2 months for my new labor visa to stay there and live there and to have just a shit job afterwards.
What were you doing for work?
I was doing a project manager in a civil engineering company.
Okay.
As a freelance project engineer, and that worked out some while. But to continue in that position and to gain a little bit more security in the sense of like being able to live in the United States, and having the visa, having everything like set up, like law and order, I had to renew the visa to labor visa, and it took 2 months. And I wanted to get back, but in these 2 months I had to leave the country.
Yeah.
And the mom of the Colombian girl that I was going out with in that time, she was like, "Come to Colombia. Just like wait 2 months here in Colombia and then get back to the United States, live there and be happy." And so I came to Colombia, to Bogota first. And after 2 months I was like, I'm not leaving. Like, fuck the States. Just like, no. I just loved it. The people, the climate, the culture, the food. It got me, you know, the girls, everything. Like they sucked me in. And I was just like, let me stay here. Everything started to work out, you know. Everything was so easy to get the visa, to make like a living in some way. And the family like really gave me home. The mom of the girl I was going out with, they really gave me like home, bed, food. They took me like their son, and that made me even like want to stay here more. So I canceled my flight back to the United States. And I said like,
ballsy.
Let me just like work something out here. Let's see until when. And I was like, maybe like 3 months later, I was still thinking about the US. But after 6 months in Colombia, I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. This is my style. This is like, I want to stay here like for a long time. And it wasn't.
So you were living with the girl and her family?
No, the girl stayed in Miami. The girl stayed in Miami, and I just was there with her family, with her mom and her stepdad.
So you were like long distance relationship with her while you were in Colombia?
The first 2 months, and then we broke up. It's like, I'm going to stay here, so stuff is like not going to work out. You stay there in the United States, I'll stay here in Colombia.
Sorry, there's plenty of Colombians here for me. I don't need you
It's like, just like put it on the side. It's like there is one, Cali is one, Medellin is one, and
it's savage.
it just didn't work out anymore. And the family really gave me home and family and feeling good, and I lived 1 year with them.
Oh wow, you stayed with the family after you broke up with the girl?
Yeah, I stayed 1 fucking year with the family.
They didn't get mad at you, or
they knew it. They knew that what's going to happen. They were like, yeah, Daniela is like that. It's like, it's nothing rare that happens to her. It's like, no, like you like it here, you're not going to go back maybe one day, but you can stay with us. And they let me live there for 1 fucking year. And everything else worked out with the visa, with like making a living. Having friends. I found a lot of good friends in Bogota, and then I got to a point where I was able to like be on my own feet.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic came. Everything just like another year passed, and then in the pandemic I was like, let me try something new, because the family, they moved to the United States as well. So I was kind of by myself in Bogota, and I was like, Medellin's the place. Let me see how it is. Good weather, nice climate, organized city. I just packed my shit and came here. That's the way of getting to Medellin.
Nice.
Everything brought me here at the end.
Yeah, it made sense.
It made sense. Life really wanted that I'm here. That's what I feel. Because in the US, when I was living there and wanted to live there, I was fighting against so many like burdens and blockages, and nothing was working out. I was forcing it, you know. And I stood there, and I stood there like 2 years later. It's like, no, I came to Colombia, and everything was like just so easy for me. And so for me, it's a sign that I should be here.
Yeah.
You know.
You're like water. You're like flowing down some river, and you
like
get stuck on a rock, and you're like, no, let's keep moving. Go to Medellin. The U.S. is too difficult.
Yeah, like Bruce Lee said, be water, flow, be a circle. And I understood that, and I've understood that because I opened a very emotional and like sensitive part of myself here. That I'm like more empathic, more to people. I left that rational mind of Europe, Russia, United States, being an engineer, like, because that was the blockage in my life, you know. I would do that because of social conditioning, you know, to be that person that they want people there to be. And I understood that here because I'm much more emotional, sentimental, empathic person than I believed back in the day. And I think not feeling good in Europe was that because I was blocking my real self.
Yeah.
And here in Colombia, I could really like be myself for the first time, and people do accept that, and people do appreciate that.
Yeah, well, people are so open here. They're just so easy to talk to. I mean, like you said, you just got coffee down the street and talked to like 5 people because it's just so easy. It's not that way in Russia or Germany?
No. It's like everyone is, as we talked this morning, rushing to his thing, and like closing down like a horse with the blinders on the sides, like let me do my stuff, don't look left and don't look right, let me get my goals together that are like not even the goals of the people. That's like social conditioning again. It's like work, studying, be obedient to politics, have a family, make children, buy a house, build a house, die, like that way, you know, like people believe that it has to be like that, and people do not want to share because it's hard to get there, you know.
Oh right, so they're not giving. They're not
exactly. They're not sharing that because it's so hard for them to achieve their goals. It's like getting them so egoistic in a way. It's like I had to work hard for it, so you got to work hard for it. I'm not helping you as well.
It's the same in the States. It's very individualistic. It's not very collective at all.
It's like drop you out on the street and do your stuff, and if you get there, and no one is like, let's do this together.
Is Russia a wealthy country, would you say? Like, are people like comfortable there?
It's a difficult question because you cannot, like, what is wealth? Russia, the government is very wealthy. It's a very rich country because there's a lot of gasoline, oil, and all that. So the government is extremely wealthy. But the people do not have shit. The people live like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. There is no money because the government and the few rich people, oligarchs, the ones who, for example, there is this one city, Yakutsk, and close to that there is said to be the richest city of the country, of Russia, because it's with a lot of gold there. You can get out a lot of gold out of the mountains. So actually it would be the richest city of the country, but there is one businessman who dominates all gold mining. He takes the gold, sends it to Moscow, to the government, and the people there are the poorest economically in all the country.
But resourcefully
it's the richest place in Russia. But economically, the quality of life, what people do actually have, is the poorest place in Russia.
Wow,
Like
that's fucked up, man.
And this is how you can describe Russia. It's a lot of egoism, a lot of opportunistic
Greed, sounds like.
greed from the government. You know, it's a lot of idealistic thoughts that the government has to lead, government has to have the power. It's very totalitarian, authoritarian. That never has gone out of the Russian mindset, and so people actually do not have people in the. It's also a big country, you know. It's the biggest country on this planet.
Yeah,
it is. There are 11 different time zones. From one end to the other, like in one is like morning, and the other time zone is evening already. You know.
That's crazy, dude.
Imagine how difficult it is to govern a country that big. You know, with so many different ethnicities, influences, resources.
Yeah.
It's just hard to like maintain all that, and so with all these 200 years of 100 years. Of more or less dictators, communism, socialism, Bolshevism for all, one for all and all for one kind of, but it never worked because it was at the end all for one, you know, all just like working for the profit of the few. When you have that mindset so long in your mind, it is not easy to be like, okay, now we are like an open democratic country that applies capitalism, and no, just like let's work and be motivated. No, it's not working like that. You know, you know, in the United States, how long of a way it was to build the United States in an economic sense, how they are today. So Russia is open for now since '89. So what it is like 33. Almost 33 years just. It's nothing. 30 is like one generation.
Yeah.
It's one generation or two generations that now have a different mindset. So it takes a long while that, let's say, well-being in an economic sense will come to the country.
So do you think people are like scarred from like the oligarchs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's why they're not so generous?
Yeah.
They're trying to like protect themselves?
Is because if they're always taken from you, why should you give? If there is always a force that makes you feel, I think we talked about that last night when I said, what does it do to a culture, to society when they're the loser, and what does it do to society when they're always the winner?
Yeah.
This mindset of like always being the second. And it applies to one country as well. So you have the rich one, the strong ones in a sense, which dominate and have all the property.
Yeah.
And then the people from the countryside, it's like where are no options, where options are not built up.
Yeah.
Why should you give when you never have seen someone generous? Damn. You can just do something if you have seen it before. So you can just do something if you learn something, but if it is not in your mind to be generous, because you have never seen it, you have never seen Colombian culture, for example, where people just give because of giving, because just of sharing. How should you know about it? How should you act upon those principles in life? So they take always from you. They put you into camps. They make you work for them. Why should you think another way? You know, it's very hard. You need to be a pioneer in something. Like in engineering, you need a pioneer to do a new technical development. Also in society, you need a pioneer who's going to say like, let's do shit different. But in human nature, in human evolution, there's just like 1 out of 10 is a pioneer. So it's not that easy to get there.
Sounds like there's some like generational trauma.
Because it's been so many generations. Look at black culture in the United States. 300 years of trauma, and like today it's still so bad, you know, and they're still in this underdog position, loser position, because they were so long like suppressed, you know.
Yeah.
It takes a while. It takes a long time. It takes Martin Luther King, all these big leaders they were to make a change.
Yeah.
And for example, in Russia, there are no big leaders right now because it's getting back to dominate anti-democratic structures.
Yeah, aren't like the elections in Russia like kind of fake?
Yeah, so last year Putin said that there will not be elections until 2036. He declared himself officially a dictator.
Oh my god.
So that was last year during the pandemic. And he made it with a fake
Jesus.
and he made it with a fake election kind of.
Yeah, wasn't it like 95%? He won by like 95% or
Yeah,
something crazy like that?
something like that. And he did the election for this constitutional change on a day that is a very important day in Russia. It's the 9th of March, where the Russian won the war, the Second World War, and everyone's in Russia is partying that day because it's like, hey, let's celebrate patriotism or whatever. And so no one on that day is focusing on politics. No one is like watching news on that day.
Yeah,
And on that single day, he changed the constitution and just like took in the votes he needed and just like slipped it in like without anyone knowing.
Sneaky bastard.
I tell you. And so they are going to close the internet. There is going to be just the Russian internet soon. The opponents of the government are still disappearing. If you're against, they search you. If you do on social media comments against the government or something they don't like, they delete it. So it's a very
but you
difficult
you
thing.
said you want to go back to Russia, right?
Yeah, I want to go back to Russia.
Why is that? You said it's been what 15 years since you've been there? So you've been abroad for 15 years.
15 years outside the country. I feel it some kind of a calling. Yeah, there are some personal reasons with identity, and I feel like I've been running away also from there 15 years a long time and always search a reason to not go back. And I was like, let me be the independent person of like just like getting to know the planet, be that like native, digital native, be that digital nomad, whatever. In the end, I understood it's just like some excuses to not go back and have to confront what there is. There's a lot like some like family trouble and whatever. And so there's on one side I have this personal reason of my identity. I just want to go back and like stop like running away. On the other end, I want some like calmness and family, because now we're like getting a little bit older, understanding the importance of being connected to your roots as well.
Yeah.
And on the other end, as I'm really like socially critical, and like I have this side of like rebellion and art in myself. I feel it is calling now as well to go back there in these difficult times of Russia, to be there, to be there and inform, to be there and demonstrate, to be there and inspire, to in the sense of a journalist, to be there and show to people what is going on in this country, because it's turning so bad what is happening there. It is so against freedom and human liberty and human rights, and I feel it as a purpose that because I always have been like against like social constructions, political constructs and social conditioning. So it's the rebel in myself that want to go back there and fight the fight for the good of all, the good of humanity. And I feel that's my calling in life.
But you're not worried about the repercussions? Oh shit.
What happened?
My camera is too hot. Alright, fuck yeah, let's do it. Alright people, we're back after a short intermission. My camera overheated, so we're back. So anyways, what were you saying? You're going back to show people what's going on? Inform,
and by that inspire and educate in a way. That's why I want to get back to open minds, because I think I'm in a position to talk about what is happening and has happened, because I've seen so many different cultures, people, societies that I'm experienced enough to compare and to really get to the base of what is like happening right now in Russia. and I have this open world view. I feel that, and I think people can really take something away from it. So it's the desire for like helping humanity and the desire for revolution. I've always been this revolutionary person because I feel we need it. It's a step for constant evolution and for the better of all. And on the weekend you say like everyone is a good person, you know, and I do believe that too. That we're all here for a reason, and there are some everything is a force, you know. There are some peace needs war, black needs white. Everything is like the weight that is like equilibrating, you know, and so there are people that need to make something stuck and something to make it feel like difficult, and there's the weight on the other side that needs to like equilibrate that again, you know. So I wouldn't say it's. I think everything is necessary. What happens on this planet, everything is necessary, and I think we will not be able to live on a planet where just is peace and love and everything. Because if there's just peace and love and all the good stuff we call, there's no weight on the other side, you know. For constant evolution and getting better and rethinking, renewing, resolving, you need the weight on the other side of the scale. And
so you want to be that way.
I want to be that way to Russia, and I'm not fearing. How do you say repercussion?
Yeah, repercussions.
I don't fear that. I think that's even more of a motivation. Be like public enemy, but what is a public enemy to, you know?
Yeah.
It is because of those people who declare you public enemy because you go against their thoughts and their ways, but there has to be this force that contradicts them and go into there. And
yeah.
I think that's even more of a motivation to show, no matter how difficult or hard the situation is, that you can do the change. You should get in there. There cannot be peace without war. There cannot be a revolution without death. In a sense,
without blood.
Without blood, yeah, it needs to be. It needs to be the fight, and so you need the warriors, soldiers, to go in there and to offer themselves to fight that fight. And so I think they cannot take for example, at the end, the result that will be received for me is worth to go through all what might happen. I'm not sure if it might happen, but look at Nelson Mandela. He was so many years in prison.
Yeah.
He never lost faith, and he fought the same way. It's like there cannot be fought a war without sacrificing something. He never lost that faith, and he's still on there, and he's still today this public hero for always believing in his values and always believing in his way. And so, yeah, if they take away my freedom, in sense of my physical freedom, and put me to jail or whatever, it's not taken away something, because freedom is what I determine to be freedom for myself. Freedom is what I have in my mind. And so the purpose, what I would do that for, and I would like to do that for, is much more important than, for example, me having physical freedom.
Wow. You got some balls.
I feel like some honorable shit you gotta do for humanity. You have a huge love for humanity, and really for, as you also said on the weekend, it's like even for, it can be murderers. There are always a reason for murder, for molester. There's like always a reason for it. Just like be empathic even to something you do not completely understand or want to accept or respect. Be empathic.
Right.
See what's behind there, because we need it in a sense, and we are here for a reason on this planet, and everyone is fulfilling his reason in a sense. Everyone is like just flowing together how it should be and how the planet it needs right now, like the energy, let's say a spiritual energy, universal energy. Everything works how it works because it needs to be like that, you know. And so this is what I need to do. I feel this really deep calling myself to really inspire and inform and demonstrate
So how do you want to do that? You said, so you're a writer.
Uh-huh.
You make a living writing. Do you want to go over there and like do journalism, or?
This is the way I plan to do that. So it is more than I'm a writer. I feel like I'm an informer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a critic, and I'm a storyteller. And writing is just one way of doing it that convinces me the most. But I just told you that I do also like public speaking. I really like. I do some music was another way of inspiring and telling a story. But I do believe that it is the emotion that makes a change. It is not the let's get to a class and learn about how to make the change and let's look into a book and then learn it for an exam. And no, what is making a change? Like for example, just put it out there. Just put it out there with the example of school. You put children into a English class, let's say Russian children into an English class, and you sit there and there's the teacher and the children already like get into class and open their books and it's like fuck vocabulary, grammar, structure. Tom catches a ball. Like, bro, why do I need to learn that, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's
kids
so
are
boring.
yeah, it's so boring. And then there's for the other when it gets to like really complex thing like conjunctions and
different verb tenses.
different verb tenses and past and future and like shit's like fuck, I'm never going to understand that. They get fear, you know?
Yeah.
But then on the other end you send kids to summer camp where there is a group of English children. And everyone's playing and laughing, football, music, and everyone's interacting. And after 3 weeks in that summer camp, that kid learned more than I learned like in 2 years of class.
100%.
6 weeks, and it was enjoying. Like English is such a beautiful language, and because it made a connection there, right? And it was built up on emotion and story and building life, you know. And so I do not believe in the educational system we do have on this planet. Because it blocks us and it teaches something that you do not accept. For what have information when you cannot apply that information?
Exactly.
That in old Japanese culture they say you should only acquire knowledge if you're going to apply it. Knowledge for having knowledge does not make any fucking sense.
Correct.
And it actually confuses you. It takes you away from the way of Zen, of being in the mode of wisdom, emptiness. So
no, I feel the same way. I mean, I studied Spanish for 5-6 years and didn't ever need it or use it or want to use it. And then I came to Colombia and in 4 months I got
like that.
way better.
Awesome, right?
4 months compared to 6 years.
And you have like real motivation here.
Yeah.
To do that.
To make friends, to order food, like a story. I had a story to tell. A story to live.
And there we go, story to tell. So I believe in storytelling as education, as informing. Because also there's a lot of journalism that's just like facts.
Yeah.
I love gonzo journalism, where it's like really like subjective, where there is a lot of like words that you wouldn't use in a formal context. It is how's the word in English? Poetic, sure. But it's like there's no like real reasoning behind it, but it still demonstrates an emotion and transports an emotion, and people get that emotion and want to like be inspired by that emotion. So this is what I love really in storytelling. That can be in pure writing, novels, drama. It can be in journalism, about like informing about something that is going on. And so I would say drama is more and more fiction. Journalism is more tended to real life, what's going on. And then in the middle you have the art, the rhythmic, the music part. What is, for example, for me, it's poetry. It's 3 different types, but you can like get to something and inspire the people. And you can transport the same message you transport in a class of sitting in front of a teacher by a story that goes about animals that are fighting each other for some territory and then end up making friends and working against the human. For example, it was in George Orwell, Animal Farm.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's the plot of Animal Farm.
Exactly. You know? And Animal Farm is about fucking communism, how it did not work, you know?
Yeah.
And it's demonstrated perfectly. And like you're in it, it's like you read Marx and Hegel and Engels, it's like, damn, how does communism work? And then you read like the Animal Farm, what is like a 100-page book. You read that in one day, it's like, damn, this is how communism works.
Yeah.
And you're like fun, and it was like thrilling. It's like I didn't stop to turn pages in Animal Farm, and it's one of my favorite books. And this is what I believe is my calling to do that. And I would use, yes, the written word, the spoken word, and hear the motion word, music. These types, something is in there. I have to develop that still. I'm young.
Yeah.
I'm young. But my calling, I think, is to inspire. I believe in inspiring and informing.
I can feel it in you. You feel like an inspiring guy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you've been a writer for, you said, so you studied in Germany, and then you moved to the US, right? And you stopped your engineering degree. And is that when you started to become a writer in the US?
No, I started to get a writer when I was born.
Okay. But you started
because money is another point. This is what a lot of people think. That's when you start to be something, when you make money out of it. No, I started to be a writer and this critic and this thinker on the day I was born, and my mom gave me the name I have, Vladislav. It's a name my mom told me when I was a kid. It's the name of the greatest Russian writers and greatest Russian critics and philosophers and artists. It is not a very, it's common, sure, in Russia, there exists, but it is a very artistic name, and all the big social critics and accepted writers, they had this name and brought it to honor. For that, from that day on, it was clear to me also there's a reason behind that. And I've been writing since, really, I learned to write when I was 4 years old. And since that day I was writing short stories. And for example, it was funny. I was in elementary school, and they gave me like, how is the system in the US? ABC, right?
Yeah.
Grades. They gave me like F on my writing. It's like, the fuck's wrong with them? F. Like, what the hell? And then I was like so pissed off by them. Like, why do they like rate me so bad? Like, I love it, what I do, and like everything they just like put me in. And I sat down at home also like with some incentive from my mom's like just like then get better. And I was just my free time writing one short story after another one. And creating like sometimes like I looked at like comics, whatever, where there were no speech bubbles. And then I wrote a short story to comics out of like a Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or some Asterix and Obelix, or there's like father and dad stories. There are like, when you look at them, they're like speechless, and I created to that and built my own short stories, and I wrote it. So like I just continued writing, and every fucking day I did my diary. Right there, and all my travels. I traveled a lot when I was a kid in Europe and in Canada as well. Writing was always there. I had so many, like, how do you say, pen pals, right?
Pen pals, yeah.
Pen pals, yeah.
Like English pen pals?
Yeah, in New Zealand I had one in China, I had one in Canada. So we always went back and forth to my grandparents. Everything I did was writing and reading, and then like being outside too. That's like,
sounds like a great childhood.
Game, and now I think yes. Back in the day, I thought I wanted to be with my friends and play PlayStation. So my mom never like let me, because she's like, no, here you have a book, here you have a pen, right?
That's great.
And
well, even now, like I woke up today and like started looking at my phone, and you woke up today and were like reading books. So I feel like it's a lifelong
path. Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. now I understand what my mom did, and she did it for the good. My mom's the same. I think you can't ask my mom like about a random book and she read it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a person who had read so many books. She never writes. Writing is not her shit, but she reads and reads and reads. And it can be like you go to a bookstore, it's like, have you read this one? Sure. Have you read this one? Sure. It's like, damn. My mom never gave me for Christmas or for birthday, never gave me money and never gave me like material things like phones or PlayStation or Game Boy, whatever. She always gave me a fucking book. Like, here you have a book. Until today she's doing, here you have a book.
That's great.
And now I love it. As a child, it's difficult when you see a lot of childs like playing on PlayStation, having the newest clothes, always hanging out together, and you're like the one who's reading in the corner. As a child, it's difficult. Actually, it's difficult, but now it brought a lot of benefit. So back then, and this difficulty in childhood brought me also to something. What I also had, I was always this kind of like rebel person.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like 14 years old, I ran away from home.
Why?
Because I couldn't anymore. I couldn't do school. I never finished school actually. I never finished college. High school. High school, right? And because I could never understand why I should go there and learn something I didn't want to learn, that is not like getting into my head the way they taught it, and just sit there and be obedient. And I had a lot of problems because I always opened my mouth. And two types, I was always a jokester, but also the critic, like always those types. And teachers just hated me, and they F on everything. I had like the worst grades on all it, and that made me like my parents. I like really like structure, you gotta do good school, be there, and so they put pressure on me.
Of course.
And that brought us to a point where we were just like day and night fighting. In school, at home, I was hating myself, and so depression was also like very, very early in my life a part because of that. Because of that. Today I speak with my mom and I ask her when did I start to be depressive?
Yeah.
When you started to have to comply social norms. She tells me. It's like once you got into all the social environment where people want something and want to change you, this is when you got depressive. And always when you were away from that, when you were in nature by yourself with friends outside in summer camp, you were the happiest person ever.
Yeah.
So
I think something about being a teenager too, like that's when you start to become a little more socialized, like you kind of are more aware of your social environment and like pleasing other people.
Trying to please, trying. Yeah, and
it's a hard age, man. It's a hard
fucking age. And then, being that guy who's always just reading by himself at the corner writing, and all the other kids with the newest clothes, skateboards, Game Boys, and whatever, it got just really to me,
Yeah.
And I understood that school is not my thing. Everything was F, and we just were fighting. And then I said one day, I'll leave. My mom understood. She was like, okay, I'll leave.
You just told her, like, I'm leaving.
And then she was like, okay, but you gotta do something. We're going to support you in that, but you gotta do something. You cannot just leave. And by myself, I found a job. And it was like 10 hours away from my mom's house. So that was in North Germany. And I went to South Germany by myself. And I found down there a job in, as a cake maker.
Okay.
Baking cakes and cookies and all that.
At 14 years old.
At 14 years old. And from that day on, I started to live by myself.
Were you happier when you left?
I was really being myself. I loved that, being independent, and everything worked out, even if I fucked it up a lot.
Did you make a lot of fuck ups?
Yeah. A lot of problems with drugs, and police came. A lot being in the street. But I was always responsible, So there was always the side that went to work, complying when I had to comply there.
Yeah.
And then like after work, I was just hanging on the streets with the guys.
Did you have a place to stay?
Yeah, I got my own apartment. I got my own apartment when I was 15.
That's crazy.
My first own apartment. When you're 15, you have your own apartment. Imagine what's happening there. Everyone's hanging out.
Yeah.
Girls.
All the 15.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Smoking weed all fucking day. Being on party on a Wednesday. I lived that like for until I was like almost like 18.
Wow.
And
What drugs were you doing? Just weed. And alcohol?
I started when I was like running away, kind of at that time when I was like 12. I started to smoke. So now I'm actually home with like 15 years smoking. Then I started like with weed when I was 13, and then when I was 14 we started with like amphetamine, you know, because we couldn't afford coke and stuff. So we started with amphetamine. And
like pills?
No, like the white powder.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they have it in the US.
They probably do, but I've never seen it.
It looks like coke. It's
Yeah.
just cheap and it's just amphetamine. You know?
Yeah.
So we started there. We went on parties from the age when I was 14. I always had a fake ID where it said it was 18, and we went to every kind of party all night long. And I was buying cigarettes, alcohol, whatever. Like from that, like McLovin.
McLovin?
McLovin.
Superbad?
Yeah. So that one, I love that movie. And
I'm gonna make sure this
is working still.
recording. I'm gonna make sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We're good.
I have 10 minutes more.
Okay, no worries. Just let me know.
Okay.
Because I don't have my phone, so.
So yeah, a lot of drugs.
You said you started taking acid when you were like
Acid when I was
15?
15. Cocaine, MDMA. Got to things like crack. Just like to try everything in a good sense and just like testing, getting my experience. But I always been responsible. I never fucked it up. I never fucked up losing my apartment. I always made it to pay my rent, and I always made it to like live that double life that I get to work and they don't notice shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when I was 15, I also had the luck, or it was discipline, I don't know, that I came around an engineering company and I was like, I want to work here. And they said to me, you don't even know what we're doing here. It's like, well, I want to work here.
And you didn't have like a high school
nothing.
diploma?
No,
Like you
nothing.
quit school?
I quit school. And the boss was like, okay, I'll give you a chance. You can work here 2 weeks and see what we're doing. And if you like it afterwards, we check. And I was there 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, he was like, good, you can work here now 6 months. And after 6 months, we look what's happened.
How old were you?
15.
Being an engineer?
In an engineering company.
Oh, okay.
I started as a technician, as a regular technician in a production line. And then after 6 months, they said, you can do this. And in Germany, you have the possibility to find a sponsor. A company can be your sponsor for university. Okay. If you demonstrate you have enough skills, you don't need a high school degree, you don't need college or other education. Mm-hmm. If they say you're good for this, you're good for this. And they sponsor you, the university and the educational system. And so after those 6 months, I said, you got it. We accept you, and now you can go into official training. And then I made like a pre-degree to mechanical engineering, what is like the basic mechanical engineering. That took 3 years. And then I made a specialization, also in mechanical engineering, and then I started with a complete degree. I was 8 years in the company. Wow. 8 years in that company. And I never fucked it up. I got promoted, I could work there, and I it was kind of like sustaining my lifestyle, what I was like doing after work, you know?
Right, drugs and
partying and all that. And so I did that, and it was a good job. It was not too hard, and I kind of enjoyed it because it was like good co-workers who were like family.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important part why I did it so long, and why I did end it at some time, because when I started to it there, I was like part of all the co-workers, you know? We were one group.
Like a family.
A family, exactly. And the more I did degrees, the more I evolved in the company. I got to a position when I was a production planner. And then at the end, like short before I finished my degrees, my bachelor degrees in mechanical engineering official, I went up to a manufacturing engineer in the company. So after 8 years being 22 years old at the end, 21, 22, I came up to a kind of managing position in the company, and I went away from that family to be more like the independent managing person.
Yeah.
And so that separated me from the family. The more I went away from the family, the less I liked to work there. And so now it was like 6 years later, I understand that what I liked of being an engineer or like being there was like being with them. not being an engineer and doing the managing stuff, you know. And so the more I went away from them and did my own stuff there, the more I got into like political stuff at work, the more bullshit started to happen, and the less I liked it. And then the day crashed, and I was like, fuck this. On the day of my 8th anniversary in the company, I just quit. I just went, and then I sold my shit and went to live in the States.
What was your plan at the time? Did you have a plan?
Yeah, I overplanned.
You overplanned?
Yeah, kind of. My plan was there to find a company that gives me a visa, and then to live there in the United States, to finish all my degrees, do a master's degree in the University of Miami.
Yeah. So you wanted to keep being an engineer, like you wanted to get better and better and better.
Because after 8 years doing it, you do not question it that much, you know, because everything was a flow, everything was easy. 8 years it worked every fucking day.
It's so crazy. From the age of 14, you worked at a company for 8 years. The longest I worked at a company is 1 year. Like I jump around so much, but you were like dedicated as fuck.
That was it.
As a 14-year-old.
Because I always knew it would support the end goal where I wanted to be, you know. And at that time, I believed a lot about money. I just want to make money. And I believed engineer is one of the job, and I still believe it's one of the job where you can make a lot of money no matter where you're at on this planet. Mm-hmm. Because engineer is one of those jobs, mechanical engineer is one of the jobs they always need. And I believed in that, and I wanted the penthouse, Aston Martin, the Rolex, and all that. And
Miami lifestyle.
Miami lifestyle living, yeah.
Are you good on time?
I'm on time.
Okay.
Give me like the cigarette, and then we're done.
Cool.
But in between all of that, I never stopped writing. I never made it for money. I just wrote, you know, my crazy drug trips. I wrote them down. I created stories from stories we experienced with friends in our weekend trips or vacation trips. I enjoyed doing all the text work in university. I enjoyed doing all the text work I had to do as a manager in the company. Mm-hmm. All the what is written, I always did that. Like me, let me do that. I never stopped that. I created my little poems during little articles, whatever. So it was always there, you know, always on my side.
Yeah, and then when you went to Colombia, you started to try to do that for a living, right?
Exactly, because then engineering wasn't working out, and I noticed like I'm like forcing something that is not meant to be, and I think that was the reason I had to leave also there, because life is showing me now that you were meant for something else.
Yeah.
And you're not meant to like that money lifestyle whatever, and I know.
You feel like your life is better in Colombia, right?
Not just in Colombia, my life is better wherever I am now, because I do what I love. So it will be great in Russia, it will be great in Asia, whatever way I will be. My life is better because I do what I love and what is my purpose and what is my calling. And I was just one day, it's like I had no money, everything was like my savings were up, and it's like I was so pissed that nothing worked out. And in company I was pissed against like modern structures and work and all that. And I said one day I said, in a year I want to live from my writing. Mm-hmm. I want to make a living. I want to have my own apartment. I just want to live from it and be on my own feet. And this happened. I set myself and just wrote my ass out and did nothing else. I cut everything out of my life.
Just wrote.
And just wrote. And that's it. This is how I became the writer I am today. And
that's pretty inspirational. You just kind of like took a huge risk. You're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna try this.
Yeah, it's not risk, and I don't like the word risk, because so we have three things. We have risk, uncertainty, and opportunity. Risk and opportunity is just a dualism, you know. In the middle you have uncertainty. So opportunity and risk are two things that you can think of, that you are conscious of. Uncertainty is all what you're not conscious of.
Right.
So there are like 50 billion of
possibilities
Mm-hmm.
that you don't kind of even think of. And there are like 5 risks and 5 opportunities. So why do I should think of risk when I can, in that case, because everything is uncertain, yes or no, why should I think then put my mind on the negative word when I could use the positive word opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
Just like go there, just take that, just see that as a huge opportunity, cut your boats, burn your boats, that's the word, burn your boats, and just go in there, because when you feel it, you know?
Yeah.
And when you want it, you want it.
Wow.
So that's why I can say just always you should listen to what really is there in you. Just try to take away all the layers that are blocking you from the real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being a doctor because it makes money, and no, be a doctor maybe because you help people, and helping people is your calling, you know. Take away the layer of money, of social status, get there to the real reason of what is behind there.
Yeah.
That is something good.
The inspirational level.
The inspirational level of yourself. And then you don't need, if you have inspiration and if you have passion, you don't need motivation. Because motivation is just something you need, like discipline. Do something what you don't like to do it. But when you are like passionate and love something, then you just like do it because you do it as part of your life, like brushing teeth, going to bath, whatever. You don't need like an amount of fucking emotion, motivation.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, you're a pretty inspirational dude.
Thank you.
Now
I gotta leave.
Yeah. But I think that's a good spot to end it, though.
Perfect, I
That
would
was
say
great.
so. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, bro.
Chatting, opening up about your life as well. Having your love out there with what you do, and also inspiring people. I think we connect on that. And
yeah, that's the most important thing.
kick it. Thank you.
Yeah, brother.
That's
Thank
it.
you, bro. All
Do
right.
it.
Cool.
Let me know when it's finished.
Yeah, it won't be long. I don't really edit it too much.